Hello. So this is second vlog, and it's been I think about a week since the last one, and I'm thinking this one's gonna be about childhood since I've been thinking about it a lot. Childhood. Whew. Seems that the years that span childhood, you could either condense them to anything until you're a preteen, or expand it all the way till you're 18 or even 21 or even 25. But it's almost like the span of childhood is limitless, because I could think of so many things that I've done in the past year which have been resurgences of my childhood, or moments in which I still react in a way that I possibly did or would have when I was a child. So, an example, about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, I moved to Japan, and in Japan, I had a lot of distressing moments, a lot of very anxious moments. I was away from my family, away from all my friends, and it was my first time truly living on my own abroad, even on my own, really. And it was very painful for me to put myself in a situation where I felt completely untethered. And I didn't speak the language well. And I was nervous. All the time I felt that I was ruining my relationships back at home. I felt that I was betraying certain expectations sometimes of my family. And toward the end of my stay in Japan, I had a moment when I was slated to come back. Slated to come back to the U.S. to visit my mom. And I told my brother that I changed my flight because I changed my flight to be 2 weeks earlier. No, sorry, 1 week earlier, because I wanted to see my partner off to her internship in Costa Rica. And my brother came at me with a lot of comments about how I was being essentially immature, in essence, that I was irresponsible for spending so much money to just come back a week earlier. I didn't come back a week earlier to visit like my mom or anything. I came back a week earlier to visit my partner, who lives far from, obviously, a completely different state than my mom. And he told me that I was making a big mistake. And that affected me deeply. Deeply affected me. I was kind of reeling emotionally. I wouldn't stop crying. I felt like a disappointment. I was embarrassed. I felt guilty. Like I was harming my own life stupidly. And it didn't make sense to me. My childhood, it didn't make sense to me at the time. And so I spoke about it with my therapist the day after that happened. And going back to my childhood, I lost my dad when I was 8. He died of brain cancer. But even about a year or two before he died, I was, living with my mom mainly because my mom and dad were separated. And my brother was my role model. And almost imperceptibly to me, he became a father figure before my dad passed, and then afterward. My brother stayed living near us, near us or with us until I was around 12. And he at last moved to Argentina and spent 7 years there and didn't return until I was 20, essentially, 19, 20. But we were very close. And over the years, I developed an emotional habit of seeking corroboration and validation from my brother. And when he would take that validation or corroboration and disagree with me, right, and he would essentially not give me that validation, it would hurt so deeply, but I wouldn't understand why, because it didn't hurt the way that I believed it would hurt with a sibling. It didn't hurt in the way that it hurt when a friend disagreed with me. Friends who I considered brothers or sisters. And even years later, when I left the toxic marriage, I asked my brother what I should do. And he told me that I should go to Spain instead of just getting in my car and driving halfway across the country and working at UPS because they had like an immediate hire system going on. And that gave me great pause, and I researched it, and for like 2 weeks I was really invested in that idea. And then fast forward to when I was in Japan and I'm telling my brother that I want to leave. I didn't realize that I couldn't trust my own decisions. I had to seek validation from my brother. I had put that weight on him unknowingly, and he had probably wielded that weight unknowingly. And we didn't have a sibling relationship. We had what would be considered a power imbalance, right? Because between siblings, there is equality. And if we consider family to be hierarchical, which I don't anymore, I think today I see my mom as a person, and it's by great chance that my mom is my mother, and by her love that she treated me well, and I'm grateful for it. But I think it's much more significant that she treated me well, not just because we share biology, but taking responsibility for a child is a personal decision. And so I want to treat her as a person, just as she treated me as a person, in addition to her son. I think my relationship with my family should be not one about accidents of birth, but of true mutual compassion as people. And at the time, I didn't see my brother as a person. I saw him as what I thought a father was, which is someone who had wisdom enough to challenge my own judgment of my own situation. And I reacted with tears and great sorrow, the way I had done and would have done as a child. So it's it's interesting how childhood, those years, in whatever ways that we approach the people around us or even ourselves, doesn't leave us, even when we like to think that perhaps we grow from it. And perhaps when we leave it unattended in this way, or when, oh, Alexa, stop. Sorry about that. When we leave moments in childhood unattended, then true noxious weeds might grow. And years later, we realize that the present that we live with is filled with those weeds. And, it's a beautiful realization because we get to tend to our garden. And of course, there's no fault. I think my brother's a person, I'm a person. And that means that we're both equally making decisions about our own lives and living by certain convictions, and the consequences that come about from those convictions give us a sense of whether something was the right decision or the wrong decision. But the pure luck that makes a decision beneficial or detrimental cannot be understated. All that to think, all that to say, really, that my childhood, my experiences from my childhood, I can now approach with a lot of gratitude and a lot of love for the child that I was and the child that I am, and embrace so much with today with that sense of childhood. Because, we do all make decisions in systems which we think we understand, systems which we assume exist for our betterment. Playgrounds which we assume are made for our safety and our fun. And we act in these spaces, but we act in them always like children. Sometimes when we act, maybe it's better to act in those spaces like children. Be curious, mold them into things that will bring joy to others around as well. The playground is a place where you share joy, not only a place where you get to savor it just for yourself. And perhaps that's a perspective we could bring today to the challenges that beset us by the systems in which we now play. I know by not thinking that I'd grown from my childhood when I was in Japan and realizing that it was still with me, that I was able to really see my family and my brother for who he is. And now I love him all the more. And our relationship is that of equals rather than that of dependence. Interdependence between all of us is the most obvious when we're children, but it never goes away. I remember this line from Vinland Saga where Prince Canute is speaking to a priest in the morning after a battle, and many people have died, and the people that Prince Canute loved, they have died. And he tells the priest something along the lines of, that night was my protector. And the priest says, the night didn't love you. The night discriminated against everyone else for your sake. And then Prince Canute asks, then what is love? And the priest gives a nod to the sun. And the sun shines on everybody, gives warmth to everyone and everything indiscriminately. And that is love. You could be a sun for one person, but when you close that light to other people, then that becomes discrimination. But if you open any shades that you might build around yourself and let it shine on others, then that love is felt tenfold, even by those that you wish to shine it on the most. But by then, you just wish to share it with everyone. And as children, I never forget that feeling of wanting to have fun with everyone and have a joyous experience with everyone. And now that's what I want to leave this vlog with. It may have been a number of ramblings, really, but it'll be interesting to listen to at the end of the year. Thanks. Thanks for watching. And I hope you were cozy, because I've been cozy. I'm under a blanket. And yeah, peace.